What's up, y'all? It's been a moment since we had the opportunity to really engage with each other back and forth and to hear from me. And so I wanted to, take this moment while I have this 30 plus minute drive to get to get home. I wanted to really take this moment and kind of just kind of give y'all some encouragement, because in life we go through these many different trials, these things that will, you know, feel like they're things that are life ending, right? It's like I understand life altering, but for some of us, our brains creates this story or this thing that it's life, that the things that happen to us are life ending, and I don't want to live there. Where I want to go here is I want to go to the point of where people in your life. Well, I'll say this: it's important that the people that you have in your life, that you allow to be in your life, in your presence, if you will. It's important that you vet them. You make sure that they're people that want to see your growth, and want to see your development, and want to see you succeed, and want to see you thrive. Because when you get into those seasons in your life of when you're going through something, and those people that you have in your life can play a very important role in how you respond and how you potentially recover from those things. And so, y'all know, if you've been following the channel, if you follow me on Instagram, regardless, wherever you follow me, wherever you get wherever you're seeing or viewing me from, you know that I am a devout believer in Jesus Christ, and I do believe He died on the cross for my sins, and it's a very, very important part of my life that I always have God with me, and I'm always praying and having that spiritual connection with the Lord in order to ensure that I'm displaying the fruit in which we're called as Christians to put on display, and to essentially allow the light of God to shine through me as I'm walking in my daily life. And so the devotion for me really started later on in my life. It didn't happen. It hasn't always been this way. And if you like I said, if you follow me, a lot of you know this. And you know, before I was very reckless or careless with people that I surrounded myself with, because I did not I did not I did not focus, or I allowed them to. It was people that was very they were very negative, and so my outlook on life overall was negative as well. And when you have such a negative view on life like that, it can, telling y'all, it brings everyone down and around you. And I imagine y'all can think of a person in your life who is who's very negative, and you're just like, hey man, why? You know, don't get me wrong, like not everything in life is butterflies and dandelions, but like your negativity is it's infectious. Like people, like you're over. They're so negative that that people around you just only view you as just negativity. And for the longest time, I would say a few years ago, that's all I did. That's all I had for people was negative, negative, negative. And when I made that change in my life, and wanting to really commit to Christ, and wanting to commit to believing and understanding what God's will is for me, one of the things that really stood out to me was how negative I was, but the perception that um, that others had of me, which was ultimately negative. And so I I I, I wanted that to change, and I wanted to alter that, because I was like, man, like I don't want people to think, I don't want people to think like this is just, I'm just living a miserable life, and I don't want to feel like I'm living a miserable life. So I wanted that change to occur. And I promise I'm going to come full circle here. And so I started to, I prayed a lot, but I also, I started to change little things about myself. I started to take certain actions to ensure that I wasn't negative anymore. I was learning to be more, optimistic on my view on life in general and things that were happening to me. And one of those, and so as I started doing that, I still had this sense, still had this cloud over me of like, man, like, but like, why do I feel like still like negative all the time? And I realized it was the people that I had surrounded myself with around, or I had surrounded myself with, that the people that I had believed were my friends and were friends with me, and because of just my, my charm, and we had a lot in common. But it really was, while I was being a soundboard for them, they were being a soundboard for me. But the soundboard that we were utilizing each other for was solely for negativity. And then I started to realize, then I started to to get deeper with it, right? And that was, the people I'm surrounding myself are not believers. Now, I'm not telling you that you should only be friends with believers, um, or you should ostracize those who do not believe. But what I will tell you is, what I do believe that you should do, and what's important, is who you surround yourself with. And if they're believers, you'll see that transformation that you'll see in your life will be amazing, right? Because if you go to church, when you go to church and they talk about getting into small groups, the reason the push for the small groups is because when church originally started, essentially what it was a small group. When the disciples went out and they went to spread the good news and preach the Lord's message, and tell the people of who Jesus was and what he had did for what he has done for our sins, and whatever the case might be. Those are essentially small groups, because they were in people's houses. When Paul was out there talking, he was in people's houses talking to them, right? So that connection was made there. And so my my thing is, when you are surrounded by other believers, and other believers can give you insight and wisdom that can really change and alter your life for the better. Wisdom that is, hopefully, if they're really believers, but hopefully wisdom that is an insight that is given to is furthering and encouraging the will that the Father has for you in your life. And I say that because I have friends that are not believers, and I don't get me wrong. I listen to their advice, and I appreciate their advice and their insight. It's not to say it lacks wisdom, but what it does lack is, it puts me at the center and not God at the center. It puts me as the one who can change my circumstance, and not God who can change my circumstance. It puts me as the one who's in charge and controls my future, and not God as the one who controls and can change my future. And I started to realize, this is what when the Bible talks um, about fools, right? Like we um, or fools in the sense of when it's these individuals who claim to be all knowing and inferior in knowledge, and like the Pharisees, right? And the Sadducees, they were they had intelligence that was that or their intelligence and their intellect was that um, of school knowledge, right? Like of doctoral knowledge, but they lacked the actual spiritual growth and knowledge and the spiritual growth. Therefore, they lacked the spirit in order to actually grow in their spiritual wisdom and their spiritual knowledge, which then therefore when they would out when to actually help those and help people in need, and when they would come to them, they could actually give them the the word and the spiritual knowledge, right, and the spiritual wisdom and the guidance. And so I think it's very important that who we surround ourselves with, the friends that we have, the friends that we make, and we create in our environment, who we allow to be within our truth, within your business, who you allow to know your business, who you allow to know what you got going on in your life, who you trust to hear from. First and foremost, should never be a person. It should always be God. And I'm learning this myself because faith, what faith looks like. I heard this thing the other day, and it was faith in God. What faith in God really looks like is I hit a crisis, I hit a moment, a difficult spot, or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But like I hit something, I hit a wall. Who do I go? Who do I seek first? Who is the first person or the first God, if you will, that you seek? Do you seek human validation in your issues and your concerns and you seek human wisdom, or do you seek God's wisdom? Do you seek God first? Think about all of the times when David was in some times of true adversity, when he's running from Saul, he's running from his son, because they're trying to kill him. Who did David go to first? He went to God first. And that is what we need to do as believers. We need to seek God first. Now, again, we seek God. We seek God first. We seek His will through prayer, through time, spending time in His Word. Right? We seek what He has for us in our lives and how He wants to handle any adversity that we come across. However, not however, I would say, and then we can still seek those friends, right? So I'll give you a perfect example of this that's in the Bible. When Daniel, Daniel and Meshach, oh my gosh, uh, Meshach and Abednego, gosh, their names are in my head, but just the song, right? When the king had said, "Hey, he's going to kill all the wise people," when the Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had said, "Hey, I'm going to kill all the wise people," and that include Daniel in uh, those three brothers. He the man who I can't remember came to kill them. He said to Daniel, he said, "Hey, I am to kill all the wise men in the land because they couldn't interpret the king's dream." And the king, and so Daniel said, "Tell the king I will interpret his dream." And so he was warned. He was warned. Hey, none of the magicians, the astrologers, or the are these other the people that were for the other god, for the king of Nebuchadnezzar's gods. None of them were able to interpret the king's dream, and so Daniel said, "No, I will be able to do it." So what did Daniel do? First, he sought God and he prayed to God, and then he went to those three brothers and he said, "Listen, this is what we need to do, and what I need you to do is pray and ask God to tell us the secret of the king's dream, meaning the secret to what is it necessary to interpret the king's dream." That night, God gave Daniel the message, in which the secret in which he needed to interpret the king's dream, and he was able to interpret the king's dream. And then Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged Daniel's Daniel and Daniel's God, the one true God, as the one true God. And I tell you that because if you look and pay attention to the story, or into that in its story, right, you see that Daniel first sought God, and then he sought the wisdom of believers, of other believers, and then he trusted God, and he trusted those believers. Now, if those other believers were not devout, and we know those three were devout, Meshach, Meshach, God, why can't I remember the middle one's name? Anyway, we know they were devout. We know they were, right? They stood in fire and they said, "Hey, even if you burn us, even if you kill us, right? Our God will protect us, and he'll stop. He'll prevent us from being burned. But even if he does not prevent us from being burned, he's still the one true God, and he will be the one we worship, not this statue that the king of Babylon had built." And that goes back to his dream. It's amazing how all this is connected and how it all goes together. But I'm telling y'all, this is why it's important that who you surround yourself with is imperative. It's imperative that who you surround yourself. Sorry, I'm out here driving and these people out here missing stop signs. That they are men and women of faith, because I'm telling you, when they're men and women of faith, God is amazing in the work He's able to do for people and those other believers. I'm telling y'all, it's amazing. It's amazing. You know, right now as I sit here, as I going through, and I'm going through some adversities in my life right now, y'all. And it's amazing because I told James, I was talking to James, and I said, you know, this is how I know God is amazing. I said, because as I'm going through what I'm going through, experiencing what I'm experiencing, I said, I am at this peace that I never thought I would ever be able to achieve. And I prayed over and over to God to grant me peace, to give me peace. And he gave me peace. But he gave me a situation in which to test that peace. And so I'm sitting here in the situation, right? And what I'm finding is I'm at such peace, y'all. It's like being in a tornado, right? It's like being in the eye of the storm of a tornado. Everything around you is in complete chaos and complete disarray. But in the eye of the storm, it's complete peace, complete serenity. But you can still see all around you, like, holy crap, I'm in the eye of the storm. I'm in a tornado. Like, these things, everything around me is just like flying up in the air. But in the eye of the storm, you're at peace. I tell you all this because that's where I'm at, and it's amazing work that God has done in my life, and it's all glory to be to Him, right? Because without Him, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't be the person I am today. So, you know, glory be to God. Listen, y'all. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your family. You know, enjoy some food, but remember to give thanks, to God for everything that you have in your life, those blessings that you have in your life, because I think we forget so easily that all the blessings that God has given us, and we are on to the next thing because it seems like we're on to the next problem in our life, and we're like, oh, is God really real? Is He there? Is He there? But then you forgot all the things that you prayed about, you've been praying, that you wanted talking to God about, that He's helped you with, small or regardless of how small it is. You forget. We forget, and so never forget. Give thanks. That's all I got for you guys. Like I said, happy Thanksgiving. We'll be seeing Mediocre Dads. We've got a lot more videos coming out. Be prepared for a new video to drop on Friday the 28th or 29th. Sorry, tomorrow's 28th, 29th. Really good video. You're going to want to check it out. Of course, go to the Mediocre Dad shop. Get you some gear. It's obedience demands action. I'm telling y'all, it's important because obedience demands action. I love the slogan. I love it so much. ODA. Go to mediocredads.net. Get you some ODA gear. Represent your faith. Whether you're in the gym, whether you're just out walking about, but I'm always wearing it. Represent your faith. Um, and of course, guys, remember being mediocre is a choice, and you have to refuse to be mediocre every single day. That's all I got. Mediocre Dad's out.